It's Halloween today, but there was a lot of scary stuff going on in the Bronx yesterday. Just absolutely inconceivable what happened. Think about it. In Game 1, the Yankees had a winning probability of 86%. Yesterday, they had a winning probability of 95% after being up 5-0. And then they were up again late in the game, and somehow it didn't happen. And I guess if you watched the game yesterday, you shouldn't be all that surprised, because one of the problems that the Yankees had all year, there's two problems they had all year. They run the bases terribly. Statistically, they're the worst base running team in Major League Baseball. Now, that didn't bite them yesterday. And they don't play great defense. They just don't. Now, I'm just looking yesterday at all the there's no accountability. Really? Is that why Aaron Judge dropped the ball in center field, because there's no accountability? I mean, that's just silly. Is that why Anthony Volpe, who won a Gold Glove, made a bad throw and got an error? That's because of no accountability. I don't know what to make of Garrett Cole not covering first. I don't have any idea what happened. He said that he was cutting the ball off, and then he took a bad angle, couldn't get over to cover first, and that unleashed the hounds. And the Yankees turned a 5-0 lead into a 5-5 game, and you just got such a sinking feeling, Don and Peter, at that point, that they were going to lose the game, and they ended up losing the game.
Yeah, but the incredible thing, Michael, and all those things are true. I mean, you had a 5-0 lead. You're thinking blowout. You're thinking about L.A. on Friday, all the pressure on the Dodgers, and then that implosion happens. But you still took the lead.
Yeah.
Right? So you overcame it. All right. Obviously, you shouldn't have been in that situation to have a one-run lead going into the eighth inning. But, Michael, you had a one-run lead going into the eighth inning. You got off the mat. Stanton hits the fly ball that brings in the go-ahead run in the eighth inning. You're 6 outs away. So you shouldn't have been in that situation. I 100% agree, and we're going to evaluate that inning as maybe one of the worst innings in the history of the Yankees organization. Just the way it was played. I don't know.
And what's at stake, right?
Yeah, and what's at stake? Listen, I don't know. They could have won that game last night on Friday, lose 10-0, and lost the series anyway. But we'll never know because of that inning. But with all that said, Michael, it's 6-5. You got the lead, and you couldn't close it out. I mean, that's what it comes down to, Michael. Because if I was to tell you that you're going to have a lead going into the eighth inning, the way the Yankees bullpen has been, and listen, they were exhausted, and obviously Weaver, 3 straight days and all that, and we'll dissect that a little bit more later on too. But you were still, despite that inning, despite that catastrophe, 6 outs away from playing tomorrow in Los Angeles.
And let's talk about the one-run lead, okay? Because there's a couple of ways it could have gone. And the manager always looks bad when he pushes the button that doesn't work. And I thought that Boone pushed a lot of good buttons this postseason. One bad button he pushed, in my opinion, Game 1 bringing in Cortez, it didn't work. And then yesterday, after you take Cole out with 2 outs in the 7th, by the way, we'll get to that later. I thought Cole was magnificent. Mm-hmm. Magnificent. 108 pitches, throwing 99 miles an hour.
No earned runs.
No earned runs. He was great, Peter. So you take him out with 2 outs and a runner on in the 7th inning. You bring in Holmes. Holmes walks a batter and then strikes out the final batter for the final out. Well, if you bring Holmes out to start the 8th, right, you could take him out at any point. But once you bring in Tommy Kahnle, well, then you're tied and you're tethered to the 3-batter rule. Now, Kahnle was great for the Yankees all year. He has not had good command at all of late in the postseason, and he ends up loading the bases. You can't take him out until the bases are loaded because he's got to face 3 guys. If it was Clay Holmes out there and he let the lead guy on, then you bring in Weaver at that point. But by bringing in Tommy Kahnle, again, who had no command this World Series, none. He loads the bases, and you bring in Weaver. I know what he was trying to do because Weaver's pitched a lot. He didn't want to get 2 innings out of Weaver. Well, you ended up doing it anyway, and what you did was you brought Weaver in with the bases loaded with no margin of error. And by the way, Weaver did great. Got all the batters that he had to get out, but he had 2 sacrifice flies, and that's the game. So if you're going to use Weaver to get 6 outs anyway, wouldn't you bring him in for a clean inning? And if you were hesitant about Weaver getting those 6 outs, then you should leave Clay Holmes in because you could take him out right away. Because once you finish an inning, then the 3-batter rule is out the window. You can take him out after 1 batter if he lets anybody on. Instead, you put Holmes in an untenable situation, and he ends up giving up 2 sac flies. He was brilliant, by the way, and that's the ball game, and that's the World Series. And it's going to be the Yankees lost the World Series in 5 games. I'm sorry. Are the Dodgers better? Well, they're certainly better in this series. They're not that much better. The Yankees should be in L.A. today getting ready for Game 6.
But unfortunately, Michael, I mean, part of the analysis of who's good and who's bad are, the Yankees kind of yanking themselves in the 5th inning. That's kind of what they've been all year. Making those types of mistakes that lead to you wondering, why aren't they fundamentally better? Now, nobody's thought that kind of catastrophe coming, Michael, but when you say, they should be there, well, they're not because they couldn't get the job done in the 5th inning and then with the lead in the 9th inning. I'm with you. I think he got caught up in not wanting to use Weaver for 6 outs because it was a 3rd consecutive day. I get that. But I think Holmes would have probably been the better option. But if Holmes gives it up, Michael, what is everybody saying? Oh, Holmes is a bum.
But you're not going to allow him to give it up is what I'm saying. If he gets a runner on, then you go to Weaver. Instead, Weaver had to come in with the bases loaded.
And the other thing, too, with Canely is, and I know he's been effective, Michael, but when he comes in and Smoltz reminds everybody that all he's done is thrown changeups, I'm thinking to myself, this is the one team that's going to kind of figure this out, right? That the Dodgers are just so prepared, they're so good that they're going to expose this, and they ended up being selective, doing everything they need to do to be able to load the bases and put it there. So I know you think we should be there because of the way it went down, but that's kind of what the Yankees are, Michael. They're not that fundamentally sound. The Dodgers are. And the Dodgers are a kind of team and a kind of offense. We reminded you that when the series started. They're relentless offensively. They're going to just keep coming, and they're going to keep coming, and they're going to keep coming. And if you give them 6 outs in an inning, Michael, you're lucky you only gave up 5. I mean, we could still be batting right now the way that team can bat and the way the opportunities they were able to take advantage of.
Now,
but I'm sorry,
but Mike, real quick. Does anything more sum up, though, the topsy-turvy insanity that has just been this sort of elongated disaster, like the night for Aaron Judge last night?
Yeah.
I mean, that was it, guys. When I saw him hit the home run, do you guys remember way back in the day when Bonds was in Pittsburgh and just could not do anything in the playoffs? And then that big spot, he hit a double, and he hit his chest, pointed up to the sky, and was like, it's over. And you could tell, he had this moment. I thought the home run last night was, it's over. And now the Dodgers have a serious problem the rest of this series. And by the way, Aaron Judge showed with his bat, including the double at the end of the game, he really might have been in a completely different place.
He had 2 walks, too, Peter. He was on 4 times out of 5 at-bats.
No, he was good.
And the one time he made out, he just missed hitting the ball out in left field. They went back to the lip of the warning track. So his swing was fixed.
Completely fixed last night. Yeah, I thought that one was out too. He was unreal on offense, but now that what we're going to remember was that his first error of the season. You can argue, guys, we can argue it's Garrett Cole covering first base. We can argue the Volpe error, but the one that's going to stand out for people forever, guys, is the Judge error. And it's such a brutal moment.
And it's a brutal moment, but people are just completely unfair. I mean, it's not Buckner. It's not Luis Castillo. Those ended games. This was in the beginning of a catastrophic inning, and it obviously was the highlight. And to see somebody who's so sure-handed drop something so easy, like the Volpe play, hey, it would have been a nice play. He should have made it. It's clearly an error, but hey, listen, you're not going to beat him up too much. That was a tough play. This is a can of corn. This is easy. But still, God, there was opportunity after opportunity after that for him to be bailed out, and he wasn't. So you could say, oh, Cole. Well, Cole doesn't have to give up the 2-run single to Freeman, right? There's so many things that happen after that. So, yes, it led to the big inning, but there were many opportunities, Peter, where he could have been bailed out by it. So I can't put it up there with Buckner. There was no turning back after Buckner. The game's over. Luis Castillo dropping that A-Rod pop-up, game over. Game was not over. It was early enough in the game, early enough in the inning for the Yankees to bail their star player out, and no one did.
Well, here's the inning, essentially. All right, so Hernandez leads off, Kike Hernandez, single to right. Then Edman with a fly ball to center field. And Judge just said after the inning, I just dropped it. He had no excuses. Right. Then a fielder's choice, it's 1 out. Then a strikeout of Lux where he threw 99 miles an hour. There's 2 outs. And then by being out there as long as he was, and the strikeout of Lux was the first out. Then he strikes out Ohtani for the second. He's an out of way of getting out of it. And then Mookie Betts hits that squibber with spin on it to Anthony Rizzo. Now, if you watch Yankee baseball a lot, Anthony Rizzo was a Platinum Glove winner. Does not like to take the ball to first base himself. He just does it. He wants his pitcher to run to first base. Now, he did not charge into the ball because he wanted to make sure he fielded the ball. And then because of the spin, he had to wait back to get the proper hop. At that time, I think Cole was probably exhausted. And he doesn't go over to first. No excuse. He should have gone over to first. And then I think the exhaustion does kick in because then he gives up the 2-run single of Freeman. Then he gives up the 2-run double Hernandez. It was like a bad dream. It was Halloween a day early, unfolding right in front of you. I'm sitting there next to Meredith in the press box. Couldn't believe what was going on. And then she pointed something out, which Don also pointed out on our text chain. At no point did the Yankees send Matt Blake out to talk to Garrett Cole.
No,
forget about giving him any sage advice. Give him a deep breath.
The second I texted, everybody had the meeting at the mound. I don't think anybody came out, Michael. But
it was Rizzo making the meeting.
Right. So, he's done. But during all that, just give the guy a blow. You're right. You don't need to give him any advice. It's just like, let's just calm it down here for a second, right? Things are starting to fall apart all over. It's a little chaotic. Let's just calm the situation down. I couldn't believe nobody came out. Nobody stopped. And then by the time they did have the meeting, Michael, it felt like, it was probably too late at that point to calm down the madness. I was really shocked by that.
It was a mess. It was a mess of an inning. And as Don said, the Yankees have toughness to them. All right, they've come back from gut punch losses. They've come back from gut punch innings, and they came back and they took the lead. I thought once it was 5-5, it was going to go downhill, and the Dodgers would win like 9-5 or 11-5. But the Yankees did take the lead. And then the bullpen, which was great all postseason, it didn't click. Tommy Kahnle didn't click. And they lose a game that, after the game, Aaron Boone was almost crying. He got really choked up on the podium saying how heartbroken he was. And they kept that clubhouse closed much longer than they're allowed to keep it closed because guys were just devastated.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, everybody, even if they won the World Series, the 2025 Yankees are going to be almost unrecognizable to the team that you just saw. Well, they didn't win the World Series, and it's going to be unrecognizable. If you look at all the players that are going to be free agents, especially Juan Soto, and how many are going to come back or they even want to come back, it's going to be completely different. Completely different. But one thing they have to do, we came out on the field after the game. And because you can't go on the air until the trophy's given away at the podium. So I walked over to the Fox set, and I was talking first to David Ortiz. You know what David Ortiz told me? I'm sick to my stomach seeing that. This is a Red Sox, right?
Right.
Alex said, that's one of the worst innings I've ever seen in 40 years of watching baseball. And then Derek Jeter kind of had a dazed look on his face. And he said, Mike, I've never seen an inning like that in my whole life. In Little League, in any level of baseball I've ever seen or played in. I've never seen an inning like that, fifth inning. And then he said, the one thing you can't do with the Dodgers, you can't give them 6 outs in an inning because they will take advantage of it. And take a look where the Yankees didn't take advantage yesterday. The Dodgers kept walking people. They kept loading the bases, and the Yankees never got the big hit.
That's the thing, too. They 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position?
Yes, and that was the deal the whole postseason.
So it's really hard not to focus on the fifth as the reason they lost. But, Michael, when you rank it, they took the lead. In the eighth inning, they had a 1-run lead. They left a small village on the bases. They were just could not clutch it, which is also something else that has always been kind of a recurring theme with this Yankee team in the postseason of just getting that key hit. So, Michael, they had numerous avenues to get out from under that inning. That's what's got to really drive you crazy because you could say that it was crippling and demoralizing, and history will remember that because history never gives you the details. They give you the highlights. So history is always going to focus on that fifth inning as the reason. They're not going to go into the details of they had a lead in the eighth inning. They were 6 outs away. They were 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Had a glorious opportunity at times to tack on runs so that inning would not have given up the lead. So as devastating as that inning was, Michael, there's still other reasons why they lost.
They let the bases loaded in the second. They left 2 runners on in the fourth at first and second with 1 out in the fourth inning. Judge with that deep fly ball to left. Chisholm strikes out looking. They leave the bases loaded in the bottom of the fifth. That's when they could have answered back.
Yeah.
The Dodgers just scored the 5 runs, and the Yankees loaded the bases, single, hit by pitch, walk, and Gleyber Torres with a fly ball to right. They leave 2 runners on in the 6th inning when they ended up scoring 1 run. That was on Stanton's sacrifice fly. Then they leave 2 runners on in the 8th. First and second, 1 man out. Stanton with a fly ball to right. Rizzo strikes out. And then they go down quietly against Walker Buehler in the 9th. And Dave Roberts was making decisions that you go, what is he doing? He brought in Blake Trinan in the 6th inning. He had no high-leverage relievers left. I said, how is he going to get all these outs? But in the back of his mind, he knew he had Walker Buehler.
Yeah.
And Buehler pitched beautifully in the 9th inning. The Yankees went down meekly. I was driving home, and I was like sick to my stomach because I said, wow, that's a game they have to win. And you know how I get a real sense of what the Yankee universe is feeling? I got home last night. I'm not trying to be dramatic, all right? And Jody and Charlie had watched the whole game. And I walked into the living room where they watched the game because I walked into my house about 2 in the morning. And there's a wetness around where Charlie watches the game. It's all damp on the wood floor. So in the morning, I got up. I said, well, what's that spot? She said he was crying for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's a 9-year-old. And you know that there are people that are 60, 50, 40. Yeah. They're sick to their stomach because, hey, if you lose and you get beat, okay, you accept it and you move along. You gave the game away. You gave game 1 away. They should actually be up 3-2. You gave games away. You can't do that to a good team.
No. And, it's interesting, Michael, because, I told you Marco's starting to understand it, and he's all over the game. And then in the 5th, up 5-0, and you see he's trying to fight to stay up. And I wish I could have videotaped it, Peter, like a zombie. He's like trying to keep his eye. He just couldn't. And so he goes to bed. You should have saw him this morning, Michael, when I told him what happened. And he watched the MLB.com's got like the 8-minute video of like all the highlights.
Yeah.
Like really in-depth stuff. Not like just like Sports Center highlights, like giving you each like every key moment. And when I took the phone from him, he's still like he's still holding it, and his head's down, and he just couldn't believe it. Now, luckily, he's only 6, so he can't fully ingest everything that happened. But how old's Charlie now? 9, 10?
Yeah, 9.
Now that's just when that's going to leave a mark, Michael. For 9, you're old enough and understand the game enough that's going to leave a mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I hate to be that guy, Peter. You know I hate to be that guy.
But you're going to be.
But so many people would live their life a little bit easier if they just listened to me.
Go ahead. Take me through.
Because if in the car, I'm listening to all the post-game interviews. I don't know if you guys heard the entirety of Juan Soto's post-game interview. But let me just encapsulate it for you, or encapsulate it, whatever.
Yeah, encapsulate, not a...
Encapsulate.
Let him be. He's on a roll.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry, he's feeling it today.
Juan Soto essentially said, no one has an advantage. I'm going to meet with everybody. I mean, it was like he and Scott Boras worked this out, that under no circumstance was Juan Soto going to say, I love the Yankees. All things being equal, I want to be... Didn't even give that. Kept saying all 30 teams have the same advantage. So having him on the Yankees this year meant nothing. The love fest that the fans gave him. They asked him, how about the fans and how much love they showed you, right? How much does that mean for you to stay? You know what he said? I think it means more to the Yankee ownership. Like he wouldn't give an inch. And I told you, from the day they acquired him, stop the nonsense thinking he's going to fall in love, which I think he did, and he's going to take less to stay here. He's not, I used to say if it was close, he's not taking a dime left.
No, it's all business.
Not a dime left. He is all business, and that's the way Scott Boras and he have played this out for the last 6 years. When we get to free agency, everybody's equal. So the Yankees treated him like gold. He hit in front of Judge, which gave him his greatest season ever. The fans could not have been more loving to him. And you know what it meant? Nothing. It was 1 year. One more year he had to play to get to free agency. He did not show the Yankees any advantage. No. He said, I love playing here. It was great. I love Judge, blah, blah, blah. But didn't say they had an advantage. I thought that was so stark, guys. I don't know if you thought it.
He's all business. Listen, we had that from the beginning because Scott Boras is his agent. He is going to go with the bottom line. If you think he's going to do what Judge did, where I can go to San Francisco, but he is going to go to the highest bidder. I think that was the plan all along. That was the reason why he left Washington and turned down their number. He has waited for this day, and this day is going to happen. Now, do the Yankees have a chance? Yeah. But that chance is going to come if they pay the most money. Now, if everything is dead even, could there be a face-off just because he had won here and Judge and all those other factors? I don't know. Michael, if it's all even, is Boras just going to say, all right, guys, who's blinking? Somebody's going to have to give a little more. I think it just comes down to the money. I think he's always been about that. To give him credit. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, I don't think there was ever a moment where he's indicated anything differently.
And I'll give you a perfect example, Don. Before Garrett Cole signed with the Yankees, right, he was an Astro for 2 years. And the Astros ended up losing in the World Series that year. Mm-hmm. And after the game, Garrett Cole was conducting interviews. And, you know, he didn't wear an Astro cap.
Nope.
He didn't wear an Astro sweatshirt. He wore a Scott Boras Associates hat. That's how the best clients for Scott are. It's all business. Doesn't make them bad guys. No. Because for the owners, it's all business too. But all Soto had to do was just throw a little bit of a flower or say something. Now's not the time. This is a really tough loss. We'll talk. He just went right out and said nobody has an advantage, including the Yankees, which to me was like kicking Yankee fans in the teeth.
So, because all we're saying is all the people all year long that we're saying, why would he want to go anywhere else? Why would he want to go play for some other franchise? He wants to be a forever Yankee. He wants to be a Monument Park. He wants to hit behind Judge. He wants to be... No, none of that matters.
He wants to make the most money. And he did say he wants a team that's going to win. Now, all the teams that are going to win are all the teams that have the money to sign them are winning teams.
Right. I don't think the White Sox are making an offer, Mike.
No. So any team that has the money, including the Dodgers, the Mets, the Cubs, the Blue Jays, the San Francisco Giants, the Texas Rangers, they're all in play, baby. They're all in play. So all Yankee fans that sat back and thought, well, he's going to fall in love here. He's going to take a lot less money. I kept telling you that's not the case. That's not the case. This is a guy who loved playing in D.C. and turned down $440 million. Turned it down. Said no. And then everybody becomes, well, the Yankees should make an offer during the season. There was no chance of them taking an offer in the middle of the season. The Yankees knew it. Listen, I have no crystal ball. I have no crystal ball. My inclination will be that somebody will offer more money. It could be the team across town. Could be the Dodgers. I don't know. But that was a really bad portent of things to come. He stood there. He answered every single question, but didn't give an inch. Scott Boras is really a smart guy. I mean, super, super bright. And he's had a relationship with Soto since he was a teenager, and they've been planning for this moment for his whole professional life. And all those answers, practiced. No one has an advantage. Imagine that. So not only do the Yankees lose a kick-in-your-teeth World Series, but the guy who helped get them into the postseason and into the World Series said, yeah, I'm good. No, there's no advantage.
So the question with everything that you're saying, Michael, will the Yankees exceed their budget because of everything that you just said?
I think they will go more than they want to, but I think there'll be a team that will go even further.
And I know Jeff Passan said he didn't believe the Dodgers were going to be in on him or get him. But just them sniffing about is going to drive the price up.
Absolutely.
You know, so they'll kick kicking the tires is enough. So even if ultimately they decide we just can't do it, we just got too much going on here with the finances that we have, so we're going to tap out. But as long as they're in, they're going to drive the number up. Because that's the scary thing, is that it looks like it's just about the Mets and the Yankees, which might even be enough because Cohen looks like he's got a bottomless pit of money. But if the Dodgers kick the tires, Giants kick the tires,
Blue Jays,
I mean, it's that is really going to make it very, very difficult. Because again, mom and pop just doesn't seem right to talk about the Yankees. But when you're family owned and all of your money is coming from what you generate, which is a ton of money if you're the Yankees, they print money there. But it's not like the Hal Steinbrenner is sitting on a pile of cash from some other business, some other venture where he can dip into. And some of these owners, Michael, can't. Some of the multiple owners that can drag money from other places to get it done. So, in essence, Michael, the Yankees are like the mom and pop that they own the store. It's very lucrative, but that's where they make their money. And meanwhile, you got the pizzeria down the street. They make their fair share of money, but they're sitting on some kind of other business that prints money as well that they can dip into.
So depressing that at the end of the worst night in the lifetime of many Yankee fans, because think about it, if you're a 35, 40-year-old Yankee fan, that's probably the worst night of your Yankee life. And then you kind of wake up and see that Soto, no interest particularly in staying.
Well, no interest in giving them a break. That's
what I mean.
Nothing.
So he's not interested in staying.
Totally.
He's not necessarily interested in going.
Right.
It's just they're one of 30.
Who's offering me the most?
That's it. That's tough.
Yeah, well, because now this whole year of the excitement, they're just another team that's betting on them.
That's it.
That's what it just felt like, right? Nothing out of the ordinary. Nice place. Yeah, I'll play there if the money's right, but I'm going to, you spent a year, dating somebody and you had a great time, and now you're going to decide, do I want to marry him? And then, 5 other girls walk in and they all have the same chance. It's just like, wow, do we have any advantage here?
And for those that think, that you give them a blank check, not in the real world, baby. It's not in the real world. Nobody gets blank checks. Aaron Judge, who's more important to the Yankee organization because he's a homegrown Yankee and had 62 home runs, didn't get a blank check. He didn't. They gave more than they wanted to, but he didn't get a blank check. So if you're going to think that they're going to give Soto and Boris a blank check, fill in your number, that's not happening. It's not happening. Maybe it happens with Cohen. Maybe it happens with the Dodgers. I love also tea leaf reading time. Well, Soto won't play on the West Coast because it's so far from his home country. Really? With the money he's going to make, you have private jets going back and forth. That was like Peyton Manning was going to sign with the Dolphins because he had a house in Florida. Stop reading the tea leaves. The team that gives him the most money, if it's Seattle, he'll sign there. What a night. What a night.